The D16 is also known as the Shoda Samsha and shows our ability to feel emotionally comfortable and connected to the world around us on a day-to-day level. Now technically, the D16 is said to reveal our happiness or unhappiness from vehicles, and it does, but what that really means is much deeper than just cars and travel. This is the first of the three inner Vargas. Those three inner Vargas are the D16, D20 and D24. And all three of those Vargas are tied to the moksha houses. Because the main house in those Vargas is the 4th, the 8th and the 12th house, which are the moksha houses. Therefore, those Vargas deal not so much with what we have in life, but how we feel about what we have. Think about it, in the earlier Vargas, starting from the D1, D2, D3, all the way up to the D12, we covered the actual things of our life, right? Our partner, our children, our home, our career. But now, starting with the D16, we care more about what's actually going on inside of us, right? And with the D16 particularly, it talks about our inner well-being. And so the question is really, can I feel good with my life? Can I feel good with the people in my life and the things I have? Right? Can I connect with my life in a way that brings about inner well-being? And this is really what the D16 is all about. Now, to understand the D16, I like to use the metaphor of the car suspension, right? If you're driving a car with good suspension, then even a bumpy road feels smooth. You can still enjoy the ride. But if your suspension is bad, then even an average road becomes painful and stressful. And every little bump in the road is felt and magnified. And that's what the D16 is all about. When it is strong, then life feels better and life flows better, right? We are able to ride over those small annoyances, someone's tone of voice, or an unexpected delay, or a dirty room of one of our kids, and we can still feel okay, right? But when the D16 is weak, then even small or just normal life irritations, they can make us feel deeply frustrated, offended, or just unwell. Now those outer events, they haven't changed, but it is our inner response to them that is very different. And so the D16 is really our emotional suspension system. And so whether we are spilling our coffee, or whether someone says something not so nice to us, does it ruin our day? Or can we just sort of brush it off and, just go with the flow of life? That's why the D16 is the most important of the inner Vargas for our daily life. The D20 and D24, they're more about spirituality and learning, right? They show our spiritual depth and also our intellectual ability. But the D16 reveals our day-to-day emotional rhythm, right? It shows how we can connect to our world and feel good about our world. There's also a strong link between the D16 and our car, or whatever means of transport that we use. What's happening, let's say, with our car reflects what's happening inside us. And so if we keep having car problems, or we neglect our car, or we might even get into an accident, that's not random. All those things, they are a mirror of our emotional life, and we can actually read those things like omens, right? So when you're always having car problems, what exactly is wrong with the car? Or how do you neglect the car? Or when you get into a car accident, what exactly happened, right? All those details will tell our inner emotional condition, okay, and how we feel about the world we live in. And so yes, we can predict vehicle-related events with the D16, such as the purchase or sale of a car, and we can also read car accidents even from the D16. But the deeper aspect is seeing where the person is emotionally and whether they're connected or disconnected from their life. And so a person running a bad dasha in the D16 might look like they have it all, the home, the family, the job, the money. But on the inside, they are miserable because every little imperfection in those things that they have will feel quite painful. They feel disconnected, lonely, and are unable to enjoy what they have. On the other hand, if a person is in a good D16 dasha, then externally they might be going through challenges, but they can stay calm and resilient and even happy and content in the midst of it. And this is really the power of the D16. And so again, the D16 is not just about vehicles, it's about how well we can ride through life. Right? It's our ability to feel good in a world that's never perfect. And it's also our ability to maintain harmony in our life, in our relationships, and in our goals, even when there are bumps on the road. And so now let's look at this example here and find out how this Varga plays out in this person's life. So let's start with Jupiter Dasha. This person was 18 years old when Jupiter Dasha started, and Jupiter is here placed in the Lagna, which makes this Varga particularly prominent in Jupiter Dasha. The Lagna, of course, has to do with how the person relates to a Varga, and here Jupiter placed in this Varga makes, of course, this aspect of their life very prominent. And Jupiter, therefore, is going to impact their inner world and guides them as they drive on the road of their life. Now, Jupiter is also the Lord of the 8th house for Taurus rising. And whenever the 8th house or the 8th Lord become active in a Varga, then the person goes through a period of adjustments and changes, right? And so here in the D16, this means that they must change their perspective on how they find comfort, right? So again, those changes, they might not be external here in the D16, rather they are about how the person deals with discomfort, right? And how they can find meaning in challenging situations and how flexible and evolving they are emotionally. So the 8th Lord here is Jupiter, and the adjustments, therefore, that they need to make are Jupiterian, which is philosophical and, based on a higher sense of purpose. Right? They need to understand the role that other people and life's bumps play in their greater journey of life. And so Jupiter here gives them an opportunity to pause and reflect and understand the deeper meaning in how they feel about their life. Jupiter is in a natural enemy sign here in Taurus, but overall it comes out here as neutral. And this tells us that they're able to make these philosophical adjustments to maintain their inner comfort and peace just enough to get by. They won't feel lost, but they also won't really reach a high level of contentment. But they have a basic level of feeling good in their life. Now that won't allow them to really see everyone's role in their life clearly or fully appreciate how life's challenges are helping them evolve and become a better person. And so it's really just a, barely happy kind of period. Now, aside from shaping here the Lagna in the D16, which shows how they relate to this aspect of their life, Jupiter also aspects here the important 4th cusp in Cancer, which is the cusp of happiness and comfort, and Jupiter also here aspects the 4th Lord Moon. So this means that Jupiter is manifesting inner well-being and happiness during its dasha. However, Because its dignity is only neutral, the happiness that it is able to bring can only be mediocre. They will be able to ride the bumps of life without breaking down, but not without irritation or frustration. And so we can see here that the moon in the 4th house is going to be the greatest support for Jupiter in its dasha. The moon is here in its own sign, awake and capable of manifesting happiness. The only other planet that aspects Jupiter is here Mars, who is debilitated. And Jupiter's lord is Venus, who is also debilitated. But at least Jupiter here can manifest happiness through the 4th house and the 4th lord moon. And the moon here can contribute to some degree of inner happiness. In Jupiter moon, the most important event with regards to the D16 actually happened. The moon is the lord of the 4th and the 10th house, and we can see here that there's a connection between happiness and career endeavors. And so during this time, this person became happy and fortunate through vehicles. They got a job as an automobile engineer at a famous automobile company. We can see here that the 4th and 10th house is manifested by its lord, the moon, and also by Jupiter here. And so this shows that he found a lot of happiness in his job. However, even though this was a really good opportunity, he also faced significant struggles at his new workplace. The moon is here conjunct debilitated Mars, and this brought irritation and conflict with coworkers. Rahu also aspects the moon from the 6th and 12th house, and this dramatically increased the potential for conflict. And this meant that at times disagreements spiraled out of control and caused serious emotional turmoil and an overall lack of peace at work. And it went actually so bad that this person becomes so frustrated with their work environment that they left the company. And this was not because they failed or they were bad at their job. They actually really loved their job and they were very good at it. But they just couldn't take it anymore emotionally. It was in Jupiter-Mars when their frustrations peaked. Mars is debilitated and tends to bottle up pressure and dissatisfaction. Now, luckily, Mars is here manifested by both its lord, the moon, and also Jupiter, and the person was able to hold on and push through. Mars is a good example of a planet that does cause difficulty but not break the person, because there's enough auspicious influence that keeps it afloat. But then Jupiter Rahu Dasha came. And we can see here that Rahu is separating the person from the 4th house of vehicles and also the 10th house of their job. And they quit their job during this time. Now, what is actually really fascinating about this example is that, the 10th cusp is here involved in the D16. And that actually allowed us to see the career shift through the emotional lens of this Varga here. Now, we certainly need to also look for confluence in other Vargas to confirm the change of their career. So now let's see what is happening in the D1. Now, first of all, Jupiter forms a wealth yoga with Mars called the Guru Mangala Yoga, which indicates financial gain in professional achievement. And this was one of the main reasons why they didn't want to quit their job during Jupiter-Mars. But let's also see if Jupiter has a 4th house agenda in the D1. Now Mars, here we can see, rules the 4th house of vehicles, and Jupiter manifests Mars. Now Mars is also the engineer, and so they started working in an automobile company as an engineer in Jupiter Dasha. It happened as we remember, in Jupiter Moon, and the Moon is here in the 10th house of career opportunity, just like it was in the D16, and it is in the sign of Libra, which is ruled by Venus, which is the karaka of vehicles. And so we also got the confirmation here for the job opportunity in the D1. Can we also see in the D1 why this person quit their job during Jupiter Rahu? Well, Jupiter here gets aspected by Rahu, and Rahu is also in the 2nd house and disrupts this person's livelihood. And so during Jupiter Rahu, they quit their job. And a person with Rahu in the 2nd house, they suffer from a lack of self-worth. And so this person felt that the job wasn't worth it, even though they were actually paid quite well. But for them, they thought that they should be making a lot more. And so we got the confirmation in the D1 that in Jupiter Moon, they got a job opportunity related to cars, which then got consolidated in Jupiter Mars. But then Jupiter Rahu disrupted everything.